Well, I don't know if you can reboot a movie. But they rebooted 4 Weddings and a Funeral. And it's a 10-episode arc of a story. It's on streaming media. And apparently it's an American production, which is handy to know, I think, before watching it. Because the whole thing is filmed in London, and almost the whole thing. Because they do some bits in New York, New Jersey. But it's kind of handy to know that it's actually Americans. Although, if you're watching it, who cares who made it? But instead of 1 American character, we now have 4 American characters. And that's a whole group of friends. They come over to London. Reasons not important. And I am not going to tell the whole story, because the peanut gallery is already making faces. So, what did they do? Well, let's remember the movie from, off the top of my head, 1994. Could have been 1995. Am I saying that right? 1995. Something like that. And so they made this in 2018 and 19 to be aired in 2019 and 20. You see where I'm going with this? So by the end of the season, I'm skipping through my notes already, but at the end of the season, one of the weddings that is announced is going to be in the spring, early summer of 2020, which is very funny if you're watching this in lockdown. But I suppose, 10, 20 years from now, people will gloss over that and just go, weren't they in lockdown? Yeah, they were. So, but this was recorded before that, and they couldn't have known. So let's look at whether this is how it compares to the film. I'm not going to look at everything, because my last video on 4 Weddings and a Funeral had the peanut gallery giggling her way through it, because it was like 50 minutes, so let's not do that again. However, we do have 4 weddings and we have a funeral in this thing. Yay! Our leads we have 3 leads kind of, which is odd. But we need more characters because we have effectively about 10 hours. I think the episodes were 50 minutes to an hour or something like that. So it's
how many episodes?
10 episodes. So you have a lot of time, which is great, because the first thing that I found out, that I was like gratified to find out, is that everyone actually has jobs and lives and family and stuff. Whereas in the film, they have nothing. You just go from wedding scene to wedding scene to funeral scene to wedding scene, and the running to and fro on the morning and the and the evenings. So they cast for diversity. Yay! There's really no reason not to. Anybody can, as long as they come from where they come from, as in the Americans come from America, but that doesn't say anything about skin color. So, boom, you got a whole bunch of diverse colors. I do have an issue with the kind of like second main character. They kind of put... Okay, so I'm messing this up completely. So you've got Charles and Carrie in the original movie, where Charles is the bumbling Englishman played by the absolutely adorable Hugh Grant.
Bumbling Englishman.
Being bumbling English. And Carrie...
Andie MacDowell.
Andie MacDowell playing Carrie. Yes. And she's, of course, absolutely lovely, stunningly beautiful, and basically just has to stand there and be American. And every once in a while say a line. Now, they changed it, which is great, because my beef with the movie was that there's no chemistry between the characters. No, there's no chemistry between the actors. They can chemistry their way into any scene. That's not a problem. But the characters had absolutely no reason to like each other. Much less fall in love with each other and all of that. So to me it feels that this is not changed over into the male and female leads and then we have a whole entourage. No, this is changed into the 2 women. So you've got the American character, which is really well, they're both American characters. So let me look up names. So Maya, played by Nathalie Emmanuel, she is really the Hugh Grant character, the Charles character. She's a woman, and that's great. So and she has a best friend, Ainsley, played by Rebecca Rittenhouse, who is an interior designer and happens to be the daughter of somebody played by Andie MacDowell. And I love that. I love that. Sorry, that was just like so good. She's just in one scene. Don't get your hopes up, but it's just so lovely. So I thought from the trailers, quite honestly, that it was going to be a lesbian couple. I really did. I mean, why not? That's how it looked. And so no. No. We have an awesome leading man. The most gorgeous of gorgeousnesses that they could find in London. Kash, and he is I'm looking at Nikesh Patel. I hope I pronounce his name correctly, but he plays Kash. Kash Khan, as the thing starts, Ainsley's fiance. So they are going to get married. First wedding is going to be between the blonde American and the Pakistani Londoner. Yeah, that's the first wedding. Again, peanut gallery looking at me going, are you going to tell the whole story? No, I will not. This goes completely wrong, as it should, because in the movie it goes wrong as well. Actually, no, the wedding goes fine. Charles bumbles his speech up quite badly, which is great, but because he's actually funny when he bumbles it up, so Maya had to bumble her speech as well, as best woman or whatever, best girl. What is the term for that? Head bridesmaid? I don't know, but that they did that great. So that's the first wedding, and so they split up. Now this has huge consequences for the rest of the storytelling, because Kash, the now no longer fiancé of the best friend, and our Maya, are what I consider to be the Charles leading lady of this entire show. They have already met and fallen in love before they even knew that. How can I not tell the story without saying what's happening? So anyway,
if it's pertinent to tell the story.
So that's her star-crossed lovers throughout the entire show, and here's where I have beef with the show, because Ainsley is not the only white woman in there. There's several white women in there, but she is super blonde, super white, absolutely stunningly gorgeous. Rich, because her mom, Andie MacDowell, comes from America to tell her, we're cutting you off. So she's not only rich, she's privileged, she is like the top of the pile. And she was left at the altar. Okay, boo-hoo, that is not fun. I agree that that's not fun. But her best friend Maya has meanwhile fallen in love with the ex-fiancé. And he with her. And the entire 10 episodes, she's trying to not be with Kash because she doesn't want to hurt her best friend Maya. Now, by the time we get to episode 8, things have happened so much that she has actually gotten together with Kash. Because love, and that's why we watch it, because there's so much love in the show. No, but I love it. It's great. I really enjoyed it. But there was a point where the entire group of friends, because this is also a group of friends thing, just like in the movie, they tell her to take a hike. They literally tell her to get lost. By that time, Ainsley is already engaged-ish to someone else. And that I felt like, would they have done this if this was switched around? And I talking racism is a very, very difficult subject. But I really felt like this blonde woman is so privileged, and everyone is behind her, all the colors of the rainbow that we've got there in the room. it's like this whole group of people. Where are we? Craig, Zara, Quentin, who was dead by that time, so not him. But that was funeral. That was a surprise. Basheer, Fatma, Ainsley, Bryce, and Duffy and Gemma, and all of them are looking at Maya and saying, "You hurt this woman. Go away. We will not talk to you again." Literally, they don't talk to her for a year. I'm sorry, but that's overprivileged. I really feel that is bad writing, not worthy of this show, because this show was really puts everyone on the same plane. There was no discussion about the appropriateness or inappropriateness of various colored people having relationships with the other. The only time that it comes up is in Cash's background, because we have his dad and a younger brother. The mom's died, so Cash is he's full-fledged adult working and everything, so he has to help the dad take care of the family. So at some point he goes to the, I don't know the words, the mosque, and the religious leader there is helping him to do a matchmaking. And that was really the only point where it came up. I mean, you start the show with, you got Ainsley, you got this super high Anglican church, because, hey, it's 4 weddings and a funeral, and everything happens in a high Anglican church, unless it's up in Scotland.
Then it's a high Scottish church.
No, it was in the castle that this guy, yeah. Watch the movie. And I'm sitting there going, what does his dad think of that? Because that's a big thing to get married in a Anglican church if you're not at all a Christian. I know Brits think differently about this, and because I am married to one, and I had to have these conversations with people over there in England about where we decide to have our wedding and where we did not decide to have our wedding. But it's like, no, his dad was like, if this makes you happy, boy. And it's like, oh, it's like the most wonderful dad in the world. So, yeah, I love that. So, I will not go through all of the weddings, because there's just too much to say about this. It's 10 episodes. There's a whole lot that happens. It grabs you by the feels and by the recognition at the beginning, because they do lots of callbacks, and I wrote some down. I'm sure there are more, but I may not have spotted all of them. But one of the things is remember those sheets from Love Actually, where somebody apologizes to somebody else, and a sheet falls down, and there's a new line, and the sheet falls down. It's beautiful. Ainsley, the blonde woman, does that for Maya, our protagonist, who is vaguely black, as she says, like you kind of black. When she comes to London because something went wrong in her personal life and in her she's a political speechwriter, as far as I can tell. So. Yeah, so things closed down back in New York, and she just went to London to come be with that group of friends. This is how they all end up in London. And then if you see the house where Ainsley lives, it's one of those, you remember those, Kensington Park, those round, yeah, with the pillars and all the white. It's like, yeah, that's like 5 million right there. I don't care what you've done nominations.
Something Crescent.
Yes. It's like... very, very rich. And that they imply that in the 4 Weddings and a Funeral as well, is that they are actually all from a fairly rich background.
Upper class.
That is, that's implied. Whether or not, because they don't seem to be making any money in the film. Yeah, but here they all made money.
they all in the other movie they all went to higher education, which meant money. Well, Oxford and
the big 5. The Russet Group universities. That's really what they imply. They never say it, and here they're pretty clear about who's got money and who doesn't. Everyone gets at least one shot at having a love of their life, or 2 or 3, which is really nice. There's some foreshadowing at the beginning of who might end up with whom, and then you go a completely different direction, and then they end up with that person anyway. And it's just, I'm not gonna say all of them because it just would take too long, but it's so lovely. It's really well done. I mean, it's good storytelling, good romantic storytelling, and it doesn't have the drawbacks that the movie had, which is really nice. So I was at the callbacks to all these movies. Well, so the Love Actually one happens in episode 1, but it also happens in episode 10. So it's so nice. They knew what they were doing. They don't do it by accident. There's I already said Maya flubs her best woman speech at the wedding. Well, that's definitely harkening back to the original movie. Ainsley goes in the middle of the series. She has met an American guy that she's like, I did not move to London to marry an American, Texan, and he's too old for me. And she says this to his face, and then says, I'll be okay with marrying you, even though you're all of this. And I'm thinking, Pride and Prejudice much? It was so good, and it's her saying it to him, and he just looks at her and going, that is absolutely the worst proposal I have ever heard, and slams the door on her. Which is like, yes, because she is the super privileged young girl that ever gets everything that her
heart's set on. Yeah.
Yeah.
She gets all her heart's desires.
Yeah.
Quickly,
she's not
without any.
Yeah. So that needed to happen, and they did that. So that was a very good one. There's a scene where this... Oh, I didn't say this yet. Everything's in the movie, diversity-wise. In the series. Except there's no gay people. They forgot the gays. We need to queer this up. So it looks like episode 3 or 4, they're like... Oops. And they did the most wonderful gay love story. I mean, really... Ainsley,
As long as it doesn't involve a funeral.
It didn't. They didn't kill the gays. Yes, they killed the straights.
Yes.
No, it's great. They have Ainsley runs this interior design, completely not solvent interior design business, until her mom comes by and she's like, "We're cutting you off, dear." So then after that, she needs to find a way to make money. Because she lives in this super expensive place and all of that. So this guy walks in the door. I won't tell the whole story. But basically she ends up... This is the American guy that she said the stupid speech to later on. But her people that she employs... She had Tony 1 and Tony 2. And Tony 1 had to get fired because he really was useless. But Tony 2 is as gay as they come. And Tony 2 stays. And Tony 2 happens to know, because this is, of course, it's a romance. So you have to find how people interlock with each other. So this is Ainsley's employee. But Maya, the best friend of Ainsley, is now working for a conservative British politician. There's so much going on here because that is his name is Andrew something or other, and played by Alex Jennings. Now Wikipedia tells me that Alex Jennings was originally cast in the original movie as Charles, which is the Hugh Grant role. And they had a production something, like they couldn't start production or something, and then he couldn't make it. And they had to recast, and this is how we got Hugh Grant. And I guess somebody remembered him and said, now that sucks. Would you like to be in this thing? And clearly he said yes. I'm making all the anecdotes up because I have no idea. Not the one about the casting, that was on Wikipedia. So they got him in this as Andrew, and he may be a conservative politician, but he is super gay. And he's like this very stately gay politician.
Stiff upper lip.
Yes. Oh, what he does, he does a turnaround as well. He gets his moments that you just want to cheer for him, and he picks up his relationship with Tony too, and it's so beautiful because they are Tony too is a person of color, and there's a law about to go into effect that this guy needs to vote on, that will make certain illegals even more illegal. I'm not quite sure on the detail, but they would deport the people without papers or something like that, and that would actually put Tony 2 out of the country. Yeah, and there's where Andrew can shine, and I mean, yes, they forgot about putting them in, but once they put them in, they did a proper job, and that's why I like TV series, like a limited TV miniseries. You can tell a longer story. It's like a nice meaty novel rather than a short story with all these highs and lows and stuff. So let me see. Yes, the last thing that harkens back to the movie is that Maya, Craig, Duffy. We haven't talked about Craig and Duffy yet, but believe me, they're worth watching. And then Ainsley all say the same first line, which is multiple times of the F-bomb. When they start, it's like the moment they switch it on. Oh yes, and it was written by a man, because Maya, she does start with the F-bomb, and she finds herself in flagrante delicte kind of sort of situation that she shouldn't be in, and her bra ended up in the fish tank, and rather than she doesn't need a bra. She doesn't have the kind of bosom that you can't just put a shirt over and start your day. But she puts her bra on wet and all and then goes to the office, and that's written by men. Sorry, there is no woman with a cup A or smaller that would ever put on a wet bra and then put clothing over it. And I suppose that is actually supposed to tell me that I'm supposed to laugh now. But that is not my kind of humor.
And it doesn't.
That is man
work.
humor.
It doesn't work because your wet bra it will go straight through your clothing. You will see your outline of your bra.
It did, and that's supposed to be funny, and that is not funny. It is also unnecessary. If she had a cup C or more, I could see that she'd think that, okay, I need to get home first, but then she would at least pull something over it that doesn't shine through a jacket or something. So
yeah, you'd be wearing your sweater on a whole day. Believe me.
Yeah, yeah, and you'd be late for work because there's no way. So that was just dumb and not worthy of.
So this is set in London, but it is with a lot of American characters and a lot of British characters.
Yeah, we got the 4 American characters that are all university buddies, looks like, and most of them went over to London. And then Maya is, when she goes over to London, is where your story starts.
Does it preface strongly enough for people who are not British about British life and reverse? No, it just dumps you in. Yeah. Yeah.
Duffy has a relationship. Duffy is also a bumbling. He's like the Tim character. I did write that down somewhere. Is the Tim character was the guy that was a nice friend of Giles, but calm, and he was like his bar wasn't set very high, so he said something like, I would like a person that I can spend a nice life with and at least doesn't hate me for it. And if it ends up in divorce, so be it. So they had a Duffy. The Duffy is that in this one, and he works at a British high school, middle school probably, and he's in the middle of British life. You also have Craig, and they do pronounce it Craig because they're very high hoity-toity Brits in London there, and he's an American character, and he has already a sort of not quite an Essex girl, but very much a a chavvy British woman. And that's a long storyline at the beginning, and all sorts of antics they get into. So they pretty much all the love interests are British of those 4 American people. Except that Ainsley ends up with this Texan guy at the end, but that's okay.
So do you think this is made for Brits to watch or for Americans to watch? Or
I would say Americans would be very happy watching this, would be very comfortable watching this. Brits might nitpick at stuff that I wouldn't even know about. I had no problem watching it. I thought it was great. There's a whole series of gatherings and parties and all of that, and that really does look quite British the way they do things.
Yeah. Is this a closed off series, or is this is open for more?
Well, I felt that they could do a sequel series, and that they probably wouldn't have done it because by the time this thing aired, lockdown happened. Well, it started airing in the fall of 2019, so it may have they may have thought, okay, but they weren't filming for a second season.
But the story itself has a beginning, middle, and an end.
Yeah, so it does. Yeah. Yeah, I rather like it. You know, you get a story and you're done, and then maybe at some point in the future you decide to do another story with a different cast or with the same cast and see where they're at. I wouldn't mind that. It's always a good sign when you go, well, I don't mind if they make a second season with the same characters. And
for christenings and a wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. For christenings and a graduation or something like that. Yeah. I don't know what Americans were ready for with people of color being leads that they didn't have before in 2018, 2019. I think they were already ramping up to get more people of color on the screen. And this Maya, she's great. She's like perfect. She completely holds the show up. I felt that her willingness to be ousted by the entire group towards the end there, and to say, yes, I did wrong, you know, pounding chest for a year, I felt that was not correct for the character, for the strength of the character. There's also a point where you say, hey, listen, I get it that this hurts you, but this is the love of my life. You know, let's see if we can find. But yeah, that's not. You don't make a TV show for people to be reasonable, right? So that was a little bit contrived, but for the rest, it's very, very nicely done.
Recommend it.
I recommend it. Rotten Tomatoes didn't like it. I don't know why, because it's great. You like your rom-coms.
It's maybe too conservative now. Because the original movie has a certain conservativity. It has a certain fun, but a certain conservativity. And here maybe also. I haven't seen it.
I didn't feel it was conservative. No. I thought it was. Certainly the storyline with the gay politician and the Tony 2 boyfriend, that them getting together, that was super British.
If that
in that sense that they did that scene where he comes to the door and the family is there, which Hugh Grant in Love Actually does. That's Love Actually, right? Where he's the
Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister, and he comes to the door and he's like, I kind of want to marry you, and and so the guy does it, and he's. Tony 2 is there with his whole family, and they're all going, if you don't want to marry him, I'll marry him, you know. And it was just lovely. It was, the British parts were quite British.
And if they'd left out the gay storyline,
that would have been, considering even 2018, I think that would have been really dumb.
So they really needed it.
Yeah. you can't just say, let's have some color, and then practically not address that. The only color that was addressed was Kash and his Pakistani background. And they did that properly, and it's like, I mean, I'm not Pakistani, so I can't speak for the person, the people themselves. I can only say from my perspective that they put that in honestly and clearly, and without any sort of like, oops. No, it's like, this is it. Oh, Bash needs a mention. Bash is his best friend from before, and ends up with Kash's not quite fiance, the one that he got matched up with, and he needs a chaperone, so he phoned up Bash, like, okay, you have to come in and chaperone me, and then Bash ends up with the girl, because of course Kash is still in love with Maya and always will be. I did miss one thing that they did that was a callback to the other movies, and that was from Notting Hill. There is a scene, there's a music playing, a song playing, and then he walks. If you've seen Notting Hill, which I know you've all seen it, if you're watching this 4 Weddings and a Funeral video that I'm making, you've definitely seen Notting Hill. And then he walks, and he goes through the seasons along Notting Hill, because a portion of these people are actually living in Notting Hill, because you do recognize it a little bit. It didn't look like it was on location, but most of the London stuff looked like it was on location. And he goes through the seasons, and he does the exact same thing as Hugh Grant in Notting Hill. So, yeah, there's so many fun bits about it, and also the storytelling is very good. I would definitely recommend. So, that is my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.